Hello everyone, happy Easter. Welcome back to our lesson on tithing. You would recall that in our lesson last week we did an introduction to tithing, we did an introduction to Melchizedek, and we outlined how Abraham would have paid a tithe to Melchizedek after he had victory in battle. So we read last week from Genesis 14 verse 20 and Hebrews 7 verses 1 to 6. Now this week we're going to be looking at Leviticus and Numbers. We're going to be starting with Leviticus 27 verses 30 to 33, looking at the outline of tithing as belonging to the Lord. Then we're going to be going to Numbers 18, 21 to 24, where tithes were given to the Levites. After that, we are going to be closing on Numbers 18 verse 25 to 28, where the Levites themselves gave back a tithe to the priests. So we're going to be reading from Leviticus 27, 30 to 33, reading from the Contemporary English Version. 10% of everything you harvest is holy and belongs to me, whether it grows in your fields or on your fruit trees. If you want to buy back this part of your harvest, you may do so by paying what it is worth plus an additional 20%. When you count your flocks and herds, 1 of every 10 of every newborn animal is holy and belongs to me, no matter how good or bad it is. If you substitute one animal for another, both of them become holy and neither can be bought back. I'm going to go on to 34. Moses was on Mount Sinai when the Lord gave him these laws for the people of Israel. Now we're going to be looking at Numbers 18, 21 to 24. You would have recalled when I just broached the subject of tithing that I said that the Levites, the temple helpers, were also to receive a part of the tithes. Now here is the evidence we're going to be looking at in Numbers 18, 21 to 24. The Lord said to Aaron, 20% of the Israelites' crops and 1 out of every 10 of their newborn animals belong to me. But I am giving all this to the Levites as their pay for the work they do at the sacred tent. They are the only ones allowed to work at the tent, and they must not let anyone else come near it. Those who do must be put to death, and the Levites will also be punished. This law will never change. Since the Levites won't be given any land in Israel as their own, they will be given the crops and newborn animals that the Israelites offer to me. Numbers 18, 25 to 28, the Levites would then return a tithe to the priest. I'm now going to be reading from Numbers 18 verses 25 to 28, where we will see that the Levites would then be required to pay a tithe out of what they receive to the priests. The Lord told Moses to say to the Levites, when you receive from the people of Israel 10% of their crops and newborn animals, you must offer a tenth of that to me. Just as the Israelites give me part of their grain and wine, you must set aside part of what you receive as an offering to me. That amount must then be given to Aaron. Aaron was the high priest, so that the best of what you receive will be mine. After you have dedicated the best parts to me, you can eat the rest, just as the Israelites eat part of their grain and wine after offering them to me. Your share may be eaten anywhere by anyone in your family, because it is your pay for working at the sacred tent. You won't be punished for eating it, as long as you have already offered the best parts to me. The gifts and the sacrifices brought by the people must remain sacred, and if you eat any part of them before they are offered to me, you will be put to death. It's interesting to recognize that it was not the priests who initially received the first 10% of the tithes from the Israelites. It was the temple helpers, the Levites, who received the tithes as their pay, and then they were required to give a tenth of the best part of what they had received to the priests, in other words, to the Lord. After they had given that 10%, they were free to consume and use the remainder for themselves and their families. Thank you for joining us for this week's lesson on tithing. Next week, God's willing, we will look at a number of other scriptures outlined pertaining to tithing. We will look in Deuteronomy 14, 22 to 29 on rules regarding tithing. Deuteronomy 26, 13 to 15, honesty is required. Of animals, every 10th, Leviticus 27, verse 32. Recognition of tithes by the Jews, Nehemiah 13, verses 5 and 12. Promise regarding tithing, Malachi 3, 7 to 12, and most of us are familiar with that one. The Pharisaic legalism on tithing condemned in Luke 18, 9 to 14. Have a wonderful week. God bless you.